Welcome, friends, to Reality Test. What is reality testing, you may ask? Well, it's something we all do every day, maybe with our loved ones over dinner, with coworkers at the water cooler, etc., when we check our subjective or personal emotions, thoughts, and so forth against objective or sort of more agreed upon fact-based reality. Although, because Dr. Ray and I, Dr. Kay, are social constructionists, we don't actually believe there's one true objective reality, but rather our own personal versions of it constructed in the context of relationships. But you get the idea. So here in Reality Test, we're going to be testing the castmate realities and the producer antics of our favorite reality TV shows against what we know as licensed psychologists about the reality out here, off of our TVs. We hope you'll join us as we attempt to reality test. That's it. Thanks, y'all. Now check out our campy theme song.
Are you feeling stressed? Your head's all messed? Well, let's forget all the rest. Fuck it, we're blessed, cause it's time to talk reality test. Come with us. Let's reality test.
Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like. We're going back to Batch Nation tonight, baby.
Batch Nation! It's been a while, especially with the Goldens.
Yes.
It's been a while since I've seen some Golden content, and it's nice to be back.
Truly.
I wouldn't say it's great.
Very different vibe.
Oh, sorry. I wouldn't say it's great to be back, because weird fucking season so far, in my opinion, but it's nice.
Yep. We were just talking off mic about how it's a little more robotic than Gary's season was, and so for that reason, it's not great, but it's also a difference. It's a difference to be in Golden Bachelor land.
We are noticing differences in people's integratedness of past experiences, which, or just charisma, right? Like
empathy.
Yeah. It's
or like ease of empathy, maybe. Like, I don't want to discredit his empathy. I don't know. I haven't really seen it per se, but like, at least it's not coming easily to him like it did for Gary.
No. Gary was almost a little too empathic at times. He was a charmer, but I'm now looking back on him fondly because I'm like, this guy like could have a conversation and like make people feel comfortable. And that's not nothing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And maybe it was ultimately like pulling the wool over our eyes about his intentions, but it still was at least empathetic on the surface. There was a surface level that was a pleasant level.
Mm-hmm. And made people feel good at times. And you know what? I'm not getting there yet with our friend. Shit, what's his name?
Mel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not quite there yet. But hey.
But first... Yeah, what did you say?
I didn't know what to say. I was trying to redeem it, and then I just... that was me searching for something.
You were like, the buffering sign.
Exactly. I was like, what can I say about Mel that's positive? He's kind of good looking. Yeah, sure. Getting busted looking every minute I watch him on screen, but objectively at the beginning I thought, that's not a bad looking gentleman.
Yeah, totally. Like footballer type, and I think that's definitely a type for a lot of people, so that's nice for them. And I think for me and maybe for you too, is sort of like the personality helps with the looks. So where there's lacking a little bit of like spark between, I was gonna say spark behind his eyes, but I accidentally said spark between his eyes, which is more of like a brain comment. So maybe also that, but I meant like excitement.
Like, yeah.
I'm sorry, Mel.
Yeah, not a lot of like energy that I'm picking up from him. Yeah. But yet he must have energy because he kept them up all fucking night until like it wasn't just dawn, it was daytime. I was like, this is cruel.
Yeah. Which really showed his dedication, because it's usually the lead who's like, fuck this, we're done. Like, I'm not going to see everybody tonight, we're over. And he really was able to go that long, you're right. So he does have some spunk in it. And I think also it's like where it looks, instead of looking like he's at a point in his life where he doesn't have as much energy, it looks more like a dismissiveness. Like it reads as like sort of like a disconnected, like, you know, sort of just like I'm cool for this. I'm too cool for this. And that might be fed by the comments he made about age too prior on the podcast he was on. But which, like, I don't know if you knew that. It's not like we've talked about that every fucking second of the show so far. I am glad they addressed it, which we'll talk about. But
yeah, I didn't know it before. I was like, man,
I didn't.
I was like, man, I missed some beef. And then I was like, huge. I know now.
So that's important because I bet some of our listeners also didn't necessarily know that. And it's important to note that that was actually massive because it was all over magazines because people were like fighting for him to be replaced. They're like, well, I won't watch it if he's the person. Like, this ageism is way too far. We've taken it too far. I'm out. Like, tweets, everything. People were like really going to be out if Mel stayed the lead. And so it was interesting that they kept him the lead. Like, people were sort of like, what the fuck? You're not listening to us or taking our feedback, that you kept him the lead. And yet, so I think that the way that they justified that was to have him like start right off by talking about it. Sort of like, we can keep him, but he's got to address like where he went wrong.
I have to say, I mean, maybe he'll loosen up. Maybe he's just really nervous, but like, he doesn't even have a lot of charisma. Like, it's not that he's this like incredible lead that, oh yeah, he said some shit, but man, is he going to put on a good show. So it's a little weird.
Yeah, he's not charming. He doesn't really talk a lot. Like, he doesn't have a lot to say. He sort of like expects the other person to like lead the conversation. And he's sort of like, where are we going to go? Like, you'll see that also in the second episode. Like, at the beginning of it, folks will have seen that at the beginning of the second episode, there's like a scene where it's super awkward because he's clearly relying on the woman to like lead the conversation. And so it's similar. Yeah. You know what it is really? It's something we've talked about before where it's like, if someone's really good looking and maybe let's say like a footballer or they're like whatever, that they might not have to learn how to like be really engaging because they're already treated differently just for their looks or their football status and so he has that kind of vibe, like a little bit of an elitist, like, I'm a footballer, that should be enough. Like, you should already give me special treatment or like see me as just as, eligible as anybody else because of that. And it does feel like that was a choice for him, just like Clayton, where it's like, oh, they're a footballer, good enough, let's keep it going. Like, it's okay that Clayton was number 8 of the fucking choices. Like, let's just do it because he's a footballer instead of the 4 black men that made it to the top 4 that absolutely should have been the fucking Bachelor. Let's take this guy because he's a footballer.
A little reductive, just a little. It's a shame, but we will get into it and and share our thoughts and lack of thoughts on other things. But damn,
this is pretty unfiltered already. We're like, here's our thoughts on Mel. I think it also speaks to like the Middle America thing, just really quick. Like, we've talked about the D1, D2 thing in like Middle US, like Midwest, and so that like so much of the audience is from the Midwest, and so and like places where sports are kind of like king or privileged, and so it does make sense that they would be like, okay, the athletic part is like the exciting part, but I feel like we got to do a little better than that. It had not anything shade on the Midwest at all. I think the Midwest would probably feel the same way. It's like, we don't, that's an aspect, but let's also see some spunk and quirkiness and self-deprecation, or just something like charm.
Fun. Yeah, there are plenty of charming athletes, but
yes,
I haven't seen that from him just yet, and maybe it's different in a different context. I wonder, because athletes tend to have a lot of performance anxiety because they're used to everything being like, oh, I either did well or I didn't, win or loss sort of thing. So, I mean, Dale, I wonder, because I really didn't like him on his season, and I liked him. I found him more authentic on the reunion, even though it sounds like to watch it in person, there was a different. So maybe he's like better in different contexts, but I don't know. It's not
right. He could just be anxious. It really could just be anxiety.
Yeah.
It crosses dismissiveness, and it could also be the anxiety leads to avoidance, and that's what's really dismissive about it, is that he doesn't tap into his emotional self because he's so anxious, and so that would make it disconnecting for the audience for sure. So yeah, definitely, I feel like it kind of has to improve a little bit. Like, he kind of only has up to go from here in terms of like getting more comfortable, so it'll be good.
I think so. Yes, you got this, Mel. Or I don't know. For you. At least treat them nice, the women, please.
Yes, minimum respect.
Yes, please. Please and thank you. But
please and motherfucking thank you. And speaking of that, because one of the videos that you'll find on our YouTube or elsewhere is about the ageism that was flying around the Bachelor in Paradise reunion, and that really one of the issues was like Brian and Sean having respect for Kathy. And like, that should be a motherfucking baseline. Like, we should not be questioning whether you have respect for somebody. It just is so frustrating. So I do believe that Mel will at minimum like be respectful. And I think that's a gift when we compare it to some other shit recently.
Woof. He's had some recent experiences where he's like, okay, I got to be respectful if I'm going to stay on this show. And maybe it'll integrate and change the way he thinks about things. I don't think it has yet, by the way. I think he still likes younger women. Sorry. Like, that doesn't change that freaking quickly. So, like, I see him looking at these women. I'm like, he wants a 30-something. Like, that's what he wants. And I can't.
That could be part of it, too.
Yeah. That's true. I can't just unring that bell in my head, because I think when people tell you who they are, especially about something like that, attraction, you can't just change that quickly, in my opinion. But I don't know.
I totally agree. And like, he even in some of the descriptive words he uses for the women that he's particularly drawn to, he says things like, she's beautiful and she's energetic. It's like, so like, right, we're back at the place we started, that you have quote unquote apologized about prior, but we're like doing the same thing with other words for it.
Yeah, he wants to be with a younger woman, and that is what will happen. He will leave with someone on this show, and in my opinion, will break up with them and then date a younger woman, because that is what he wants. Sorry.
1,000% what my perspective was on it too. I said the exact same thing to Sean, like during the first episode. I was like, dude, he's not going to make anything last with these women. He's going to do it to make it look like he did the job. As soon as it's socially acceptable to get the fuck out, he will. And then he will date a younger woman, because he's probably used to dating a younger woman as it is. Like, he probably has had elements, whether it's like sleeping or situationships or whatever, since the divorce, that have been with younger women, because he's an NFL player or whatever. Like, he feels like he can just flash that card, and he probably can successfully. So I just feel like we'll talk more about it during the show we have too, because there are moments it definitely comes up strong.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Okay, we're already excited. We already have shit to say.
Yes, we do.
It's rich in that way. It's conflicting. But first, we will do check-ins and also our reality check in addition to our check-ins. And we just want to mention first and foremost that we are a therapist, but not y'all's therapists, other than our clients that are listening. And we're also not the therapists of the people that we are reviewing content about. So we didn't meet with them or assess them in any way that would give us the right to diagnose in any way. We likely won't talk a lot about diagnoses, but if we do, it's in a wondering sense. So with that in mind, what is on your heart and mind, dear Dr. Ray, today?
Life of a Showgirl, Taylor Swift's new album. This little known up and coming artist, Taylor Swift. You might have heard of her. I'm not sure. Kind of.
You might have heard us talk about her as well.
Kind of an underground artist. No, her new album came out. I liked it. I think I always, it's the basic white girl in me recognizes the basic white girls in a lot of America who are aging millennials who grew up. You know, I came from a conservative family growing up. I listened to her when she was country. As she evolved, I evolved. So I wonder if that happened for a lot of us who stay really loyal to her. But yeah, it's fine. She, it gets, I think she could take a break, because I think she's such a hard worker. She just puts out fucking albums like back to back to back. And it's like, sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder, but I'm glad for the bops. I've been enjoying listening to it. Some of them are good. Some of them feel less good to me, but some bops. We'll be listening to her, I'm sure, on the radio for the next year. So yeah, that's how I feel about Life of a Showgirl. It's pretty good.
Excellent.
Yes.
You looked a touched fatigued when you said we'll be listening to it in the future year. You're like, it's future year.
Yes. I go through this phase where I'm like, I start listening to her albums. I'm like, this is okay. And then I kind of fall in love with it. It's like, and then I kind of fall out of love with it. So I guess I'm... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Like the singles start to get like sickening. You're like, I know these singles, we're over it. I like this other one that you don't hear on the radio as much. So
Exactly. And it's, but she, she's a popular artist. So Life of a Showgirl. Pretty good.
Do you have a recommended track that anyone else should listen to that would otherwise not listen to the whole CD?
Eldest Daughter. I liked, probably because I'm an eldest daughter. It talks about, what I like about it is she talks about, like, it's really cool to be unbothered nowadays. And she's like, I'm not unbothered. I think she says, I'm not a bad bitch and this isn't savage, but I'm never going to let you down and I'm never going to leave you out. And I'm like, that is a nice line, in my opinion.
I love it. That's great.
I think it's sweet because I think it speaks to the internet moment we're in where everyone's too cool. And she's like, that's not me. And I liked that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's emotionally accepting, emotionally expressive, and it's also normalizing of like not being a hipster. Like I don't think we need to all like that. We are in the like hipsters are the ones sort of at the right age right now to like be, you know, controlling the script, if you will, or whatever, that they're like the cool. And that is such a part of the hipster culture, is like being too cool to look bothered,
to care.
And so I love that she can be like in such an important spot in culture and be able to be like, I'm bothered.
Yeah, I'm very bothered and very loyal. And I'm like, I like that about you. She's herself, you know. Taylor Swift is going to keep Taylor Swifting. But yeah, that was a nice track, Eldest Daughter.
I love it. I'm definitely going to listen to that. I'm definitely the youngest. Well, I'm the only daughter, but I'm the youngest. So it'll also be interesting to hear from that position, family sibling position.
Yeah, I think because I'm an oldest sibling, it also resonates with me. I'm like, I too am an eldest daughter, so that's fun.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'll be listening from a different. I'll be listening from an etic position. I'm from the outside of that position. But it's interesting is right. They say that like based on your birth order, you get along well with someone who's in the other position. So because I'm the youngest and you're the oldest, we will obviously that's a big part of why we get along so well because our birth order differences.
And my partner, apparently oldest daughters often marry youngest sons. I guess that's a thing, but I married a youngest son.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I married the older one.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I wonder what that is. I have no idea.
We're more comfortable with people in the other position. Like we grew up with, and I think particularly when you're like the oldest and youngest versus like thinking about the middle ground too, is that like when the youngest sibling is born, often the oldest sibling is at a certain age where they can actually just appreciate the new kid, like rather than feeling displacement. And so that just creates a different kind of bond. And I can imagine that being something we'd want to replicate. And I also think in my husband's case, there's only 2 siblings, so there is no like middle there. So I don't know how that also intervenes, but I'm the youngest of 4, so it's like a slightly different, and you also have multiple. So it's interesting to think about that. But I think it otherwise makes sense because we're in that role. We're like used to being the youngest, the peacekeeper, or we're used to being the one that's sort of nurturing and has done the ropes and can, you know, think about like how to think about mom and dad and navigate the dynamic.
Yeah, youngest siblings, you're like this. My youngest brother, imperfect person, but genuinely sweet and wants people to get along. So I think there's just something. Connor is very sweet too. It's just like
very peacekeeping. Yeah, very peacekeeping.
Whereas oldest siblings are a little more, this isn't fair. You just are wound a little tighter, maybe.
Yeah, that is a birth order thing. Exactly. It's a little bit tighter, a little more anxious, and also in a good way, because if you are setting the tone, you complaining about what's not working is what will make it work for everyone else. And that makes it hard for the oldest sibling because they're like, you get it better than I did, partly because I complained about it. So like that can create a little bit of an interesting thing that can happen, but also ultimately like you complaining is what can help everybody, including the parents, learn, right? Like, so they depend on the oldest sibling in a different way too. And there's sort of an interesting like alignment that happens with the oldest sibling too. Yeah, there's so much birth order stuff by like Adler that I came to understand differently when I like really established how it related to my romantic relationships. Like I learned about it in terms of my siblings, but when I heard about the fact that like we marry or like date, I was like, oh, that makes so much fucking sense. Also why I get along with my siblings differently than, you know, from each other also.
And in the past, I've dated oldest siblings, and obviously those didn't work out in the end. So what do you know?
I love that.
Not on
I love that it's like,
it just kind of happened. I was just thinking about it. I was like, yeah.
Oh, right. That's right. I feel like it's also the difference between complementary and sameness. Like we sometimes date the same thinking that will be good, but it really is better to be complementary than the same as our partner.
I once, this was just like a flirty friendship but I once like had a flirty friendship that then turned more platonic because I think I have obsessive compulsive disorder. This person did too. And we always had so much fun together because our brains are both like, blah. But then one time I was really anxious about something and this person upregulated the shit out of me. And we just both got so anxious. And I was like, this will never work in my head. I was very confident. Great friend, great person. But I was like, we are not destined to be together. It just will not work.
Exactly. You need someone who's a little bit more grounding, like your partner now, and just be able to like meet you where you're at, like co-regulate with you, like not just ground, but also like get where you're at, but then bring both of you down to like a comfortable place. And yeah, I definitely relate to that too. It's good when you both have, it's okay if you both have neuroses, but hopefully they're about different things. So you can both bring the other down to.
It was just the funniest quick escalation. When I think about it now, it's funny, but at the time it was like, well, I was anxious, but it is funny. Funny, clear signal. Woo.
Yeah. 2020. And also, I feel like that also speaks a lot, like we're saying, where we even got here from was the idea that you and I having the same dynamic is so great, like older and younger sibling, that of course we get along so well, because also that's true with us about our neuroses too. Like both of us having our own like OCD related topics or areas where we get upregulated, and then the other person's able to just be like, whoop, we're here, like bringing it, but still relate to the other person. Like I understand what's happening for you right now while you're upregulating, not right now, but in the moment that it happens, I understand what's happening for you. So I'm able to be like, okay, here's what would be helpful for me. And we're able to do that for each other.
We're able to, yes, exactly. It was very different than me in this. Thank goodness. That would be very stressful if we upregulated each other. That would be a really hard space.
We'd be upregulating our listeners. We would all be upregulating,
and our students. Oh, gosh. That could get tricky.
At dissertation meetings, you and I were both like, doing like catastrophizing together or something and upregulating at the same time. Students, I'm pretty sure, would just be like, I'm out. Yep. We're not doing this.
Deuces. Goodbye. Oh, good stuff.
That was fun to fantasize about for a second.
Yeah. Things could be worse.
Exactly. And it's not bad at all. It definitely could be worse. Exactly.
Exactly.
I'm grateful for our dynamic. And we just talked about that off camera again too, because we sometimes have more like a 4-hour check-in, even though we've seen each other recently. It's not like it had been 2 weeks since we talked, but there's just sometimes it's like this additional content that comes into our dynamic that's so helpful, and we like both feel it. So now the rest are like itching to, like let's keep it moving, unless we have a time crunch. But that's so nice to have that comfort level and also like alignment, so that we have a little bit of a shorthand and can just like dig into the important stuff quickly. We're not like doing the little bit of like, let me tell you about this thing. I think about this first, and then I can get to the thing that matters. We're both like, doop, doop, doop.
The preamble can kind of, yes, exactly. When I said it could be worse, I didn't mean about our dynamic. I meant in the world in general, or yes, I was like,
it could be so much upregulated.
I recognize that came out a little funny, but yes, I'm very grateful for our dynamic. But I was like, things could be worse. In my advising style, I could be upregulating people constantly.
Exactly. No, that's so true too. And also, I wouldn't have minded if you said about us either. I would have understood you didn't mean it like because it sucks. I was like, wait, because at first I agreed with you. I was like, yeah, it could be worse. I was like, wait, we're great though. We're great too. Yeah, no, it would have been fine either way. But also, you're so right. In terms of advising, like we both know how to help co-regulate somebody who is upregulated, and our students are often upregulated because they are often coming in to do therapy for other people because they can relate to what it feels like when you need to be tethered by somebody or sort of like work through a processing thing. So we tend to attract folks like that. And that also means that we can relate to them, and also means it's important that we can ground, and that it could be worse if we were only upregulating.
And being a student's fucking hard. So sending out good vibes to all the students.
Yes.
It's tough out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, truly. Which also, like, just make a quick parallel to the like birth order thing is also like the astrological thing, that there's like your sister sign is the sign that's complementary, not the same. Like, so it's not going to be like Earth or blah, blah, blah. So, and I think I've mentioned this before, that my husband and I figured out well into our marriage, actually, that we're both sister signs, like the most compatible one for each other's signs. And we're both like, yep, that makes sense. Because we've always said, like, there's something cosmic about the fact we feel like we've known each other. We have known each other pretty much forever also, but it immediately felt like that. We immediately felt like we were on a different plane from the other coworkers. We met at work well before we got married. But both of us, like, it was just different. We felt different about each other than someone at any employment place. He really stood out as like an exception. It felt different. And I think that's also something like often think about as something when you compare relationships that have worked with ones that haven't, often feel like it probably could also be compared along astrological signs in addition to birth order.
Yeah, totally. It's funny because my partner and I actually don't have compatible astrological signs, but they say our signs actually are compatible if you get beneath the surface, I guess. If you can get through the initial mismatch, actually, like Scorpios and Aquariuses are actually both very like big picture, deep thinkers who can just like, blah, 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 blah. But it's initially there's a mismatch because Aquariuses are so like friendly and weird, and Scorpios are a little more like reserved and to themselves. But
which is kind of complimentary though, like, because then you bring that person out of it a little bit, and then they're also able to help Aquariuses feel a little less tied to have to be social if they don't, it sort of reminds each other there's another version of being social, which I think can be really also helpful on the surface level. But I totally know what you mean about like when you get deep, you both get deep and you both are able to like see what we're working with here in a way that doesn't stress each other out.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. It's cute.
Yeah, astrological.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No.
What's on your heart and mind this week? I forgot to even ask you.
You were not at all. I honestly I think we both were like, and how do we restart? Okay. No, you're perfect. So my heart and mind today. Saw a little baby today. Had a lot of baby snuggles, which was much needed, and also just like. This little nugget is in a growth spurt age of some sort because she is crying and scream crying quite a bit. And she's doing this thing where she does it when she closes her eyes. Whereas like back in the day when she was like first born, when she would get anxious, her eyes were open. Like she was aware of something that was making her anxious. And now it's like when she closes her eyes, she'll cry. And so I feel like it's something internal. Like there's some sort of like, maybe it's like pre-teething or like what, some version of that. But it means it's like real deafening, like real hard to hear. And yet something about it, because she's so freaking cute, I like don't even care. It's not phasing me. I just like, I just want to snuggle you even when you're screaming at me. And I like sing to her, like, don't cry for me, Argentina. I was doing a lot of that today because there was so much crying and I was just enjoying it. And she really will just like sort of like settle into that and just still slobber on me a little bit because she's still like figuring out how to like come back down from crying. But, she's with me dancing to Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. So it's just like a nice, speaking of co-regulating time or grounding, frankly. She's not co-regulating with me. Luckily, I'm not scream crying. But yeah, so that was nice. I love that there's that sort of like guttural or like obviously probably for us given our age it's not just guttural, it's like hormonal as well, but there's something that just feels very removed, like you're removed from your day-to-day life, right, with babies, because they're not fucking around with it. They don't want to hear about your work. You can't really think about your work. You got to focus on the crying baby or focus on whatever, or the snuggles, enjoy the oxytocin. So that was on my heart and mind today. Having just ended that baby snuggle session when we started.
So freaking cute. So cute. And yeah, that dyad is lucky to have you and your partner as grandparents. And just, it was so nice to see the little baby we had a brief video chat and I got to see the little baby. Really cute.
Yeah, we started on the phone. I just happened to find my phone in the house right before you called. I was like, oh, you have already done that too. And I was like, wow, that really is cosmic. And then on top of that, because I hadn't seen it in like hours, baby. And then I was like, I have to see this fucking baby. I can't even do it justice. I have to see this cute little face, little chubby cheeks and sweet baby angel.
There's your cheeks. It's the cheeks. And yeah, I didn't get the crying or screaming. I just got cute baby with a discerning face. Like, who are you on this phone? Which I thought was reasonable and appropriate.
Exactly. Her eyebrows are so expressive right now. It's so cute. I can't stand it. It's so like inquisitive. She very quickly like cycles through different things just with her eyebrows, and it's amazing. I'm obsessed with it. I was literally taking like a series of pictures without stopping, of portrait mode, because I was looking at her, but I wanted to make sure I got everything that could happen possibly. And there's like 200 photos, and they're all different because she's so quick to like shift her face. It's so cute.
Oh,
yeah, that's so sweet. She's already like full blown adult with her expressiveness. Like there's all of the expressiveness that I would expect from an adult face. It's so cute. And right, like you said, her mom is my bonus daughter is just so amazing with her and loving, and the two of them are just incredible. It's so fun to witness and then also get to jump in on the snuggling with. Both witness and experience.
Do all of it at the same time. Oh.
Yes. It's like, see, I feel it and I see it. I see it and I hear it and I feel it. Oh, I definitely hear it. today.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. They say, actually, this is not my study for reality check, but they say that first-time parents have like somewhat high reactivity to a crying baby. But then after that, second-time parents have less reactivity to a crying baby than even non-parents.
Wow.
And then, yeah, like then you're just like, woo, drop off. Like, we're fine here. And yeah. So like as not having had a baby out of my own body, I probably am in like the, sort of like middle zone there, not quite as reactive as a first time parent who's like worried there's something happening that's wrong, but definitely not as non-reactive as a second time parent. Still a little bit like,
you're crying again.
What am I doing wrong? How do we do this? I'll just sing as long as I can. And she related. I was like, okay, if all I have to do is sing to keep you quiet for an hour, I will effing do that. And it's good for also my bonus daughter because she's dealing with this like permanently right now, just because she is going through this growth spurt. It's just like constant crying, and she's not sleeping very much. Also, this stage, so I was like, please let me just have her for as long as I can. I don't care if she's screaming the whole time. Like, at least you get a little bit of ear relief.
Right, it's not right in your ears. Yeah. Oh God. Indeed.
So that's the check-in stuff. Babies, and also Taylor Swift.
Yes. Like the combo.
Women, yeah, exactly. Little like women's experiences corner here. And next up, we're going to have our reality check segment, which is where Dr. Ray and I bring in a study that we think is relevant in any possible way. It might be irrelevant. Who cares? It's something we feel like people might want to hear about or that we're noodling on for any variety of reasons. What have you brought for our reality check today, dear Dr. Ray?
So a lot has been written about the loneliness epidemic and how people are lonelier than ever, how that intersecting with age can lead to poorer mental health outcomes, physical health outcomes. And so I found a study thinking about ageism because our friend Mel had some ageism to work through, like what can lead to positive mental health outcomes in seniors or older people. Sorry, I think this article says seniors. I don't know if that's a good phrase to use. But essentially what this study found, it's called Loneliness, Ageism, and Mental Health, the buffering role of, did I already say that?
No.
Oh,
you did not.
We can cut that, I'll say. So the article is titled Loneliness, Ageism, and Mental Health, the Buffering Role of Resilience in Seniors by Jose Alberto Ribeiro Goncalves. So sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Goncalves. And the only reason I know it's Goncalves is because that's also the last name of a murder victim in the Idaho murders.
Shit.
So I heard them pronounce their own last name as Goncalves.
Goncalves, anyway. Yes, thank you. No, appreciate it. And Pedro Alexandre Costa and Isabel Leal were the three authors on this study, talking about ageism and loneliness as two relevant public health phenomena because of their negative impact on mental health, which we know bad mental health outcomes also impact your physical health. And so this study was done in Portuguese, with Portuguese seniors during the pandemic. And they found...
I was just thinking about the pandemic.
Sorry?
I was just thinking about the pandemic being a huge factor. I love that you picked one with the pandemic in the mix.
Yeah. And they spoke about the moderating factor, yes, of resilience. Oh, no, it's mediating factor. So folks who are more resilient tend to feel less the impact of ageism and loneliness. And when we think about resilience, as folks who study trauma, we know that resilience has a lot to do with relationships and, being able to co-regulate with others, be with others, and kind of integrate and work through some of the things that have happened in your life. And also, I think I said this about my grandmother who's 99. One thing I've always noticed about her is she tends to wear life lightly and wear things lightly. And so I think that is something that's really important, is being able to be resilient, which is something that we as therapists certainly encourage it in our clients. And more folks who work with older adults, I think, could maybe help with the integration of resilience.
Yeah, because there's specific factors you can move the needle on a little bit to help someone with developing resilience. And that's important to know because some articles talk about resilience, talk about it as have it or you don't. And that's sort of in some ways then a little bit of like adjacent to victim blaming for people with trauma that don't have a resilience, quote unquote, because it's sort of like, well, that person doesn't have resilience, so of course they develop PTSD. And it's sort of like, well, that person maybe didn't have the resources to like have the community connection or whatever. And so knowing as therapists what types of things you can move the needle on, and therefore knowing where the edges are in terms of like marginalized identities, like maybe they don't have a community center, that then you know how to like sort of address that in a way that is a little bit more equitable, because absolutely, like resilience, as we know, in major ways can change a lot of different health outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that point for older adults as well. Because the other thing too is like sometimes the trauma is the thing that gave you resilience, and sometimes the trauma is the thing that made it so that resilience wasn't accessible to you. And so that the same kind of thing, and you just imagine that folks who are much older probably have had some sort of trauma. I just realized I was sort of making that assumption, which is not true. Some maybe don't have trauma, but at that point it's harder to get away without having had something traumatic happen. And so they might have had that either increase or decrease the presence of resilience. So I like thinking about that mediating factor as well.
That's a really good point about, because I remember the discourse around resilience, especially in the early like aughts, was like, yeah, you've got to be resilient. And those who aren't resilient, like, get it together. But it's like, yeah, if we don't look at the intersecting complicated factors that facilitate resilience or hinder it, that's a huge problem, right? Perhaps my lovely grandmother has been able to be more resilient because she has a lot of privileged identities and some marginalized ones, to be fair. At least one that I know of in particular, that she's a woman, but
exactly. We do know that.
Yes. And I totally agree. So important to think about the complexities of how resiliency is developed or hindered. And as therapists, it is something that we really work on with our clients, is kind of building those internal and external resources. So more therapists for older adults.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, geriatric and geropsych sort of fields are like so underserved. I did it only for 1 year of my training. I absolutely loved it. And I now see through much older adults in my private practice, but I definitely think about some of those settings where that is just such a need. And right, like Florida as a state could probably use a bunch of therapists when people are able and willing to go down there, especially since therapists tend to be more liberal, and Florida is the opposite of that. So I don't imagine that the therapists are flocking there, but definitely could use it. Yeah, I definitely love that. I love thinking about that in terms of the ageism piece. You're so right, because both the Bachelor in Paradise piece, we think about the ageism, and then Golden Bachelor, flying around the screen. It's like normalized and somehow okay. And so it's really nice to think about the fact that like that's yet another type of minority stress, marginalization related stress for older adults. And if we're not thinking about the other pieces of how to support them, then that's going to help make their life shorter, not just, affect their mental health, as you mentioned, the physical health and mortality. So important.
Absolutely. Super, super important. Yes.
I feel like
your reality? Oh, sorry.
No, that's good. We were on the same exact page. I think I could tie that in again. I don't know why I feel like the need to do that, but I feel like I had to do. I can't help it. One of the things I wanted to talk about today is the positive psychology field and the way that they look at intentional behaviors and intentional factors. So one of the things that they do is they draw, so positive psych is this idea that rather than being focused on psychopathology or sort of like diagnosis, that we could also genuinely try and move towards having a different sort of perspective on life that is more focused on the positive, on wellness, on like how do you engage in positive behaviors that will help your daily life. Because we do know that if we have a more positive frame of mind, we will also have better outcomes in terms of mental health and other things. So there is an argument to be had about positive psych being an important perspective. I will add right up top that the caveat to that is that like we've actually, and I think Dr. Ray has nicely named this before, is the idea of like toxic positivity and the issues that can come with this idea of just sort of like, just be positive, like, or just be spiritual, just imagine God can help, or just imagine that, like reframe that for yourself. It's not a big deal that you were raped. Just try to think to yourself that was da-da-da-da. It's like, no, that's super dismissive. It's super marginalizing, in fact, because then you're sort of diminishing and minimizing what people have been through to sort of be like, focus on the positive. Also a big one that people can probably relate to is the idea of having depression and someone being like, just be positive. Like, so there's definitely caveats to positive psychology. I actually don't personally practice it, but one of the things that I learned in learning about positive psych that I was reminded of recently is this pie chart. So I'm giving you the context of positive psych to critique it for you, to then say, but one thing that I do find helpful is this pie chart that's been pretty well established within positive psych. And the pie chart has, 3 different portions. The portions are what contributes to your happiness. Like what is your well-being divided in terms of like sources. So we tend to think that most of the problem for us, or most of what contributes to our happiness, is out of our control. Like that there are circumstances that are at play and there are genetics at play. We don't have a lot of control over it. Either I'm happy or I'm not. It's my brain science, whatever. That's actually not true. And that's why the pie chart is so important. It's like reframing it a little bit. However, the part that is true is that 50% of your pie chart of what makes you happy and relates to your happiness is genetic. So that is out of your control. So 50% of it is definitely something that's going to just, you're born with it. You're born with like the alleles, the chromosomes, blah, blah, blah. There are going to be certain things that you just like literally science, brain science. And the other half is the surprising part, where the part of the other half that is external circumstances, such as your job or thinking about, like the family upbringing or your environment, that is only 10% of what actually influences your happiness. So in fact, that means that 40% is all within our control. So 40% of the pie chart of what makes you happy are things like your thinking patterns, your emotions, the way that you spend your time throughout the day, things that you could make intentional choices around. I want to add that still that is influenced in addition by some of the other things. Like, so some of the other circumstances are race, right? And then race will influence lots of stuff, but also including like what's available to you for those decisions. If you need to make money for your family and you are in the position that the only way to do that is something that does actually put you at risk or does actually affect your mental health negatively, then that's a way that your external circumstances are affecting one of your potentially available choices for changing happiness. So I want to say that's not that clean. It's not that neat. Definitely whitewashed as far as the theory goes. Positive psych's very like white, upper middle class, elitist kind of stuff. But worth mentioning that we do tend to have the bias that it's all out of our control. Whereas there are certain things that we can sort of put in place to try and sort of play with the idea of what could affect our happiness on a daily basis. So I think what part of my thinking about that was to add on to last week where I was talking about the illusion of happiness, because I was such a downer and I was like, it's not going to help. It's not going to help getting a dream job. It's not going to help having money. Like it doesn't matter if you do that. You're not gonna be that happy. This is sort of the like antidote to that, or the antithesis to that, which is to say that there is still stuff that is in your control, but you don't need to get the dream job to do it. You don't need the dream body, the dream face, whatever image to get that part of your happiness that's in your control. It could be things like, what are you doing on Saturday nights? How do you schedule in self-care? What is available to you? What are you doing in terms of relationships, as Dr. Ray was bringing up? So those are the kind of things we can look at with a therapist, or with somebody who can look at who you think is happy, who has figured it out, figure out how they do it, or like what kind of things you could implement in your life, because we have that accessible to us. And I feel like that is a gift that we might not have the bias to realize. Our bias is against that as a possibility. So I share this with you as potential fodder for you to think about where you might be able to insert some happiness. Just don't go for the dream shit, because that is not the thing that's going to do it.
And some people say that happiness is too much pressure and contentment is the better bar. I may have said this last week. I don't remember.
I think you did.
I had no idea. And so that discourse gets interesting too. And it's I like that about what can we do to help ourselves have like just a better time on this thing we call life. One of the PSA for New Englanders, get your vitamin D levels checked, because we are low. We are low.
Yes, so serious. And maybe get the light box therapy, even if you don't have seasonal affective disorder. It can help to have a different lighting rhythm than what the winter offers us in New England or anywhere with a strong winter vibe. I was also going to say that your grandma is also a good example of this, where it's sort of like wearing life lightly. That is a choice, or that's something that can be, for sure, more accessible to some than others based on other factors, but also something we could sort of choose as a perspective or as like a mantra. Because I loved when you said that last week of living life lightly. I was like, I love wearing life lightly. I love that.
And I have to say, like, her husband had a stroke when he was in his 60s, and she had to take care of him for over like 20 years. And I sometimes forget about that because he passed. But like, that was fucking hard. But she just, her way of dealing with it was so interesting. I don't know. She's an interesting person. Her 100th birthday is in January, and I'm really excited.
So close. Oh my gosh. Happy birthday almost. It's so exciting. 100. That's so cool. It says so much, right? Like, what are we doing to live longer? Because there are things like that that are accessible. And by the way, women, as we all know probably by now, women tend to live longer than men. And we also tend to be more relationally focused. So that does say something about the importance of relationships likely having an influence on how long we live. And so that could be your first area to target. What are you doing in terms of relationships? And it doesn't mean keep all relationships. It means thinking about your growth fostering relationships, finding new ones if you need to, if you don't have any growth fostering relationships now, but sort of aiming for places where you feel comfortable and actually have a sense of like relational zest as a response to that relationship, to being in that connection. Does it make you want more connection? Then that's a good thing. Keep being in that space. You hear Dr. Ray and I were both like, we're ready to talk more. Like, let's hang out another 4 hours.
Let's do it. It always goes so fast. It's so fun.
It does. Yeah, it does. I love it. So fabulous. I love that we're doing this a little bit of thinking about age and thinking about different factors that relate to mortality and happiness. And also all with the caveat of understanding that there are obviously individual differences and thinking about race and other access things that affect it. So with that in mind, we can now go talk about one particular older adult, Mel, and his group of women that are also particularly over 60, in fact, all but one.
Indeed. Yes. And I think we can knock these out, these episodes. Things happen and I think the ideas around them, perhaps, I don't mean to toot our horns, but might be more content-based than what happened. But to start episode 1, so Mel spent some time addressing his mistake he made, saying he referred 45 to 60-year-olds, saying that he didn't want the fake hips and wigs. He did not actually apologize, but he did say, I messed up. You know, it would have been nice to be like, I'm sorry, I know I hurt some people in his beginning statement. He did end up apologizing during some of the one-on-ones, which was good. I put this as my sociopolitical moment because I actually didn't know about it. And then I learned about it and I was like, oh, this is kind of a big deal. And I'm going to put 2 other segments here. If producers were psychologists, I would have recasted this, not because I believe in cancel culture. I just don't know that he's... the show had such a sense of play and fun and zest and relational zest, actually. That's what made the first season so great. And I just don't think that this guy has it. So I'm kind of confused, even before he said all this, about what the draw was for our friend Mel. So for me, I would have gone in a different direction. I'm sure there are plenty of eligible men who, actually like 65 plus women. He doesn't. It's obvious to me, but he just doesn't.
Right. And I don't know if you saw, but Gary also came out publicly in response to Mel saying this and was like, I was open to any age, and I'm so glad I was, because women of all ages that were in my season, I loved them. They were all great. There was no age related differences. And so he even said that he sort of told Mel to sort of get over it and to figure it out and just be open to different things. But we never saw Mel come out and be like, prior to the show, maybe so they could save it for this, maybe, but he never came out and was like, wow, my bad. honestly, I didn't quite mean it like that. That was really harsh of me. And I really want to take real accountability. And and I'll jump in because I know you have another segment here too, that mine was just something we've mentioned before, because you brought up the not real apology that men can give sometimes, because he did that. He goes, I apologize. I apologize. That's not saying I'm sorry. And it's not really, it wasn't enough of an accountability take for me. He basically said to us, just the camera, he basically said at the very beginning, well, I didn't say that I didn't want anybody. I just said no fake hips or wigs. It's that's still fucked. That's not actually better at all. So, meh. So I thought he got a little better at being apologetic as his speeches went on, but it ultimately still left me wanting, and it really wasn't an actual direct apology. But as you mentioned, then when he was one-on-ones in other perspective, like other parts of it, even people coming in from the limo, he was better able to be like, I'm sorry, I really didn't, I'm sorry. I was like, yes, thank you for at least saying that. It's but yeah, something you've mentioned, Dr. Ray, I thought that was standing out to me.
Well, thank you. I guess I did say that. I don't remember, but sounds fair.
Yeah, no, the apologies aren't real. Who was it? Was it like Summerhouse or something? There was
I'm
picked up on
sure.
someone big who was like not apologizing at all. I was like, you're so friggin' right. Like, it just is not a male, it's not seen as like masculine to like just really actually apologize versus be like, I apologize. But to actually be like, I'm sorry, I know I hurt you is not a typical play for men in our culture.
Not fucking it. But yeah, he was kind of awkward. It's like he knew he should do it, but hey, better that than nothing. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait. Okay. I remembered who it was. Jesse Solomon. You said it about Jesse Solomon.
Fucking Jesse. Yeah, he sucked. Sorry. Anyway. Okay. My next.
No, he sucked at apologizing though. It was. Yeah. He was like the ultimate example of not apologizing in a meaningful way.
Yes, I think so. The thing I've said, or something we've said before, I think I brought up something I've said before, and I think we were talking about this off mic. When people show you who they are, believe them. Like, I just don't think attraction changes that quickly. I don't think, we were saying, and Dr. Kay agreed with this as well, I think I was also saying it to her husband, we just don't think that he actually likes women over 65. And he's probably like trying to date 30 or 40-year-olds. And maybe can because he's in the NFL and he's not bad looking. Granted, he has all the charm, in my opinion, of a cardboard box. But some people like cardboard boxes. So that's cool. But I just don't think that he likes these women. And that makes it really hard for me to watch it. And it's like, how do we know he's changed? How do we know he just magically changed his mind? He didn't. He just didn't. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not it.
He didn't even apologize about the wigs and the fake hips. He was like, I'm okay because I actually said no fake hips or wigs. Like, as if that was okay if he said that. So it's like, okay, so you do feel the same way because that's still kind of the same issue where it's like ageist as fuck. And also some people wear wigs at 30 for a variety of reasons. So let's not like judge any sort of group at all, but certainly by the time they're getting much older, they're more likely to have that. So that makes it ageist. And thank you, sir. I don't like it. Let's not just judge anybody with like because you could also think about wigs being related to a disability, and it's like then you're just being ableist. Like, so actually, no matter what, it's ableist, right? Like even if we're thinking about ageism as well, it's also an ableist issue to be like, if you have a fake hip, I'm out.
Also, he clearly has a lot of internalized ageism because I think whatever he's doing with those shoes probably has to do with some sort of like pain issue or something. He doesn't name it, so then it's kind of awkward, but like there's some internalized stuff there happening for him, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think absolutely the internalized ageism thing too probably started around sports, like when he was aging out of being in the NFL. Like as soon as he didn't have the same capacity or he couldn't throw it the same way, that it probably became extremely amplified and then became a source of shame. And so then it's now like, yeah, he's sort of in denial of the effects of age in other ways as a way of trying not to like hyper focus on how age has affected his life. Because he became a lawyer, right? He went for like another version of power. He was like, I'm going to go be a lawyer because I can't be an athlete anymore. And likely that came as a way of feeling powerlessness in response to the sports change.
Yeah. I didn't know he became a lawyer. That's cool. I must have missed that. My bad. Sorry, Mel.
Yeah. I feel like it came up real quickly. I forget why. Like, I think I heard him say it, but then it turned out I was like, oh right, they did kind of put that in the package or something. It was like I think it came up twice, but like very quickly and not belabored at all, which is probably good, frankly. I mean, they probably were thinking about how people don't like lawyers, honestly, but I think in this case it would actually kind of help make him like a little bit more complex than just an athlete. So maybe it would have had a different effect. I don't know.
Yeah, if he integrated that a little more fully,
right. Yeah, it's not like we're seeing him be super fluid with his language. That said, it is a little bit polished like a lawyer. Like the way that the things he does say feel a little bit like have an edge, actually, like a little bit of a lawyer edge to it when he's talking to some women where he's like, okay, we got that. Now what? Like sort of like that piece of it, which is sort of appropriate for a lawyer and maybe not the best feeling for a woman trying to date him.
No, I would imagine not. A 71-year-old Alaskan woman. She was kind of goofy. She makes hockey jokes about the podcast. She goes, "What the puck?" And he apologizes to her. That was nice. She noted that her husband died 4 years ago after a bad stroke. Sad. It's funny that he said he would prefer women 45 to 60. And I think pretty much every woman here was over 60.
Yeah. All but one who was 58 the first night. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's weird.
Well, it's kind of like the show being like, fuck you. Right.
Yeah.
Like, well, either it's like, or they want us to see that way. Like they want us to see that the producers were like, well, then we're going to give you all 60-something-year-olds. Or like, we're going to give you a 58-year-old and you're going to send her home on the first night so that everyone will understand that you're actually okay with 60-year-olds. Or they're like, hey, we're going to rehab your image, which means we're going to only give you 60-year-olds at a plus so that'll help you make the argument that you're okay. Whereas you and I are picking up on the fact that he doesn't have that like passion or spark with these women who are over 60. It's falling flat. So it does feel like image control.
Mm-hmm. Also, let's see, what next? There's Jerry, a nurse who's gorgeous and from Maryland. Her husband died when she was 47 and she's now 64. Left her with 3 kids, a 14-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old. She brought a journal with her daughter's letter that led to a really nice connection moment. And she actually got the first impression rose. Which I think is great. Also, the fact that Mel is actually Black is, I think, a complicating factor. Like, he's white presenting, but his father is a Black man, so he's Black.
I didn't know that. Thank you for explaining that. So Mel's father is Black, right? Okay, so that came up in the context of the relationship, the conversation with Jerry.
I guess I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that's a plus that he is a Black man and he seems to like Black women. I'm like, okay. That's where I was going with that.
I get that totally. Yeah.
And I'm like, I like that. So that's one positive for Mel.
That's super helpful. I did not know that his dad was Black. And also that makes a really nice, humanizing piece in terms of him feeling like a super agent where he's like white, male, rich, athlete, that's like every type of privilege. And so I do appreciate that complexity and having a little bit more of a sense of his ability to tap into what it's like to be a marginalized group, even though, of course, he still has the white presenting privilege too.
Yes. Yeah, certainly does.
Did you like Jerry?
Yeah, I thought she was nice. I thought she was really cool.
I loved her. I thought she was gorgeous. I thought she was also I thought she was so chill, but also relational, very attuned, but not overdoing it. She felt very authentic. Mm-hmm. I'm worried she doesn't make it very far because she's not in necessarily some of the previews. I haven't seen her regularly in the previews. I know she's at least in the next couple, but I was like, I really love her. I wish she was going all the way. She's great.
That first impression, Rose, is a blessing and a curse, I feel.
Yeah.
I say that.
They often end up being disappeared. They disappear after their first impression rose. But it's particularly with men, because for the women, the first impression rose almost always becomes the winner. Like, the women are much better at initially naming, like Sean got Caitlyn's, people like that. A lot of people got the first impression rose if it was the Bachelorette. But if it's the Bachelor, that woman disappears. Mm-hmm. She's gone.
They are not good at knowing who they like.
No, yeah, it's lusting. It's lusting and then it burns out.
Mm-hmm. And then Sandra and Andra are there. They're twins. And Sandra, wasn't she Matt's mom and then was on the first season or something? Oh,
thank God, no, because Matt's mom was so rigid in that she went home first night. Sandra was went all the way to the end because she was in the boudoir photos date.
Oh, yeah.
So she was all the way. Yeah. Although that was just because it was part of Teresa's thing. But anyway, it doesn't matter. She was towards the end. She's hilarious. I loved it when she got out of the limo. I was like, I'm so glad she's the one who's back. And then it turns out she's a twin. I love it.
And her twin, also beautiful, went home the first night. He sent home a lot of very beautiful women. Yeah, I was confused. It wouldn't be my choice, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I was shocked about that. Honestly,
yeah. Yeah. There was then the one-on-one with Cheryl.
I have a segment about something earlier, but I just want to say, so right after Sandra and Andra was when the two blonde twins got out of the limo and had the sign, and then Amy was the one trying to break through and she couldn't, and Amy's like so much of funny and amazing. But that scene was where I was like, oh, he like only dates 30 and 40-year-olds, because he was totally different when he was looking at the twins than when he was looking at Amy. Like he was just like smiling in like a giddy different way that we didn't see ever again. Like never with a single woman over 60 did his smile look like that. His eyes lit up. I just was like, oh, first of all, I was like, you think these twins are here for you, first of all. But then even after he knew that they were there for just to like introduce Amy, he couldn't even help himself. He was still looking at them way more than, and like gleefully. I just was like, oh no, so that was my like evidentiary moment. That was when I brought it up to Sean about like, he's definitely going to dump whoever he ends up with and go back to, because he has no shame about it. He's just showing it right here pretty clearly. Yeah, you muted yourself. I don't know how you muted yourself. Oh, there you go.
Oh, sorry. I don't know how that happened. It was very obvious and very cringy. And I think just put like explanation points on the fact that he just doesn't like her. And I felt bad for her because she was trying to involve her daughters, and it ended up maybe like making her reveal like less about her. And it was just a little cringe with all the context. But yeah, she seemed like a fun person. And it's a shame that, it's a shame.
Yeah. It just is a shame. And it was like so early on in the episode. I was like, and now we know for sure.
Yes. Confirmed. Very obvious. But yeah, so then the roses were handed out. We were both a little surprised. Some really, really beautiful women were sent home, is what it is, I suppose. There was then the one-on-one with Cheryl, which was like the pretty woman date. And a couple women helped her get ready. I thought that was really sweet. Yeah. She was someone I would like to do.
Alone. I'm so sorry. You and then I will go. Tell me what you say.
Yes. She's someone I would like to do therapy with. Ooh. That was her trauma story. There was just a lot. It was a lot happening, and it didn't feel super like integrated to me. Yep. And like it felt like she was just spewing it, and it was kind of. Yeah, it felt like a trauma memory. And I'm like, I wonder if it feels like maybe this is something that is under processed with her. So I would love to kind of dig into that story a little more with her. And then it seemed like she was like, and I just had to forgive him. And so that's how she's maybe dealt with it and not held the complexity of her feelings about the situation, was kind of how I felt watching it.
Even towards her dad. Like even her feelings for her dad, who was like, hold on, give me the baby while you're in the bath or whatever. Like he's like, I'll bring it to your ex-husband or this guy who abandoned you a second ago. And then she comes out and the guy's gone with the baby. And then I was like, oh, they're over there. It's like, what? You just took the baby, gave it to a dude who just took off when she got pregnant. And they were like, when she had the baby, and then didn't keep an eye on him. So I can't imagine she didn't have like some resentment or questions or so, just like complicated feelings towards her dad, even in the way she told that part of the story. Because she didn't have to include some of those details. She definitely like intentionally said, my dad said, let me bring the baby. My dad then said he could be anywhere. It's like, you didn't have to say that part. So she's clearly still, I agree, processing it. And even in the terms of the dad stuff, let alone the husband stuff.
It was more than the typical scripted, okay, time to share my trauma, which made it was just like, whoa. And then I feel the same way about Mel, where my person who hasn't had therapy is going to Mel. I don't think he's had a lot of therapy around his wife leaving him. And I think he needs it. So they're two not very integrated people in terms of their traumas, and even the way he like comforted her around it, he was trying his best, but I could tell he was trying, and it wasn't quite working for me personally.
Yeah. Also because she couldn't really receive it, which is also your point. Like she sort of is like too emotionally cut off from it to be able to survive talking about it, frankly, which is understandable. But then therefore she's sort of too matter of fact about it, or like, so she's coming across as matter of fact, but it actually is just a disjointed like affect compared to what she's saying. That's like extremely upsetting.
Yeah, I was like, that is a shitty lot. And I was just like, holy moly. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was wild. I have a segment here too, and then later you'll hear that my thing about who I want to do therapy with is also for unconsolidated trauma. That's unresolved. I think this generation is like one of the ones that is still in the era of stigmatizing therapy. And there are obviously exceptions and subgroups that were much more pro therapy, like New Yorkers or Jewish folks, or there are groups that were much more pro therapy. But ultimately, this generation still gave each other a lot of shit about it. So probably there's a lot of unresolved trauma. And / we all have plenty of it, I'm sure. We all are open, are vulnerable to that being a possibility. So my segment was about the pretty woman date issue, which connects with what you're saying about Cheryl needing therapy, because first of all, I totally agree. It was super sweet that the 2 friends came, or like 3 people came to make a fuss about her when she was getting ready. Because often the pretty woman date is like the woman alone, or with the dude who like doesn't really know how to like plus her, you know. He's not gonna be like, oh, let me see, like, what if we do? So it was really cute to have the women be excited for her too, because also often women are jealous that they didn't get the pretty woman date. So there's that element too, that it was nice they could be surrounding her with joy and love and support. The thing I had a hard time with, and it felt like if I were producers, I would do this differently, in particular, but it's also a sociopolitical issue. She says to us, like, wow, I can't believe I'm on this date. Like, I don't think of myself as being like this because I was a tomboy growing up. And at first, so right away, I was sort of like, oh, ears peaked to that, because that could also make this actually feel sort of like dystonic. Like, it's not really like her to be doing this. She's not extremely effeminate. She didn't grow up effeminate or feeling like that connected for her. And so I was already sort of like, oh, that probably doesn't make it super comfy. And then, so like, thank goodness the women are there to plus her, so she feels a little bit more comfy. But then she kind of kept going, and I was like, oh God, this is kind of bad. Because then she says, my mom would be like shocked that this is what I was doing right now. So it shows that still to this day, she's seen as more of a like, you know, guy's girl, or sort of tomboy-ish-esque. Obviously, she's a motocross rider, and so she still thinks of herself that was a little bit more masculinized, and so or neutral, and her mom still gives her shit about it. So like, and she's also getting flack from her mom about not being effeminate enough. And so then I was like, this is actually super complicated for her. Like, why are we giving her the pretty woman date? And she was crying, and I didn't feel like she was actually crying because she felt like she was a princess. In my feelings, I was like, wow, this is actually like super complicated for her, because now she has to go home and tell mom, my first date was doing what you always wanted for me. And like, you know, it's like, why? Like, why can't this be about her and how she wants to be comfortable, not how her mom wants her to be? Mm-hmm. And like how America somehow needs her to be pretty. Like, no, she can do the fuck what she wants to do and wear slacks the whole fucking season, you know? And so I felt like it was the producers almost like pushing this mold on her of sort of being like, oh, you're a tomboy, we're going to give you the pretty woman date day one. It felt purposefully like conflicting. And I felt so like struck by that for her, and therefore like feeling like how she probably felt like she had to react a certain way. But then she was like still kind of telling us the truth, which is that like mom would be shocked by me doing this, and like, oh, that's so weird because I've never really like aligned with this, doing all of that deadpan, like all of it pretty flat, and just, oh my gosh, I really felt for her, really uncomfortable. And I felt like the producers, if they were psychologists, would never fucking do that to somebody, especially the first date, and especially like even the way it's binary. Like, there's just so many fucking issues with it. The pretty woman date is already a binary issue. Mm-hmm. And then also the pretty woman reference where it's also related to sex work. So there's just so many fucking issues here. I hated that, didn't like it. And I felt for Cheryl. I felt like she did the best. She was great. Like, she did, you know, I just like wanted to like give her a big hug. And I think that I totally agree. And then it's also sociopolitical in terms of gender. But yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Like, maybe nowadays she would feel more comfortable in her tomboy identity, but probably that was really complicated for her. And maybe she would have more freedom in terms of gender expression. It's tough.
Right. She spent her whole life fighting against her mom's strict gender roles. Like, her whole life. If she was motocross, like literally her career and what made her happy and that still makes her happy was entirely related to being more masculinized, just like needing to be, in fact, but also the comfort of being able to be like, no, mom, I'm going to wear my motherfucking jeans, or I'm going to wear my, you know, my like pants that are for motocross. Or, like, her being able to say like, fuck you, basically her whole life. And then the first thing she has to do on the show is be like, never mind, mom, I'm doing what you said. Like, ugh. I just feel like that's just such a like, ugh. You're defying your mom's wishes to be effeminate, and then your first date, first episode in public, in millions of people watching, your mom gets to be like, see, weren't you beautiful? Weren't you so great? You looked great. Everybody thought you looked great. Did you see all your friends? They all thought you looked great. Mel looked at you so pretty. He thought you were so pretty. Like, it just gives her mom so much fodder to be like, I told you, like, everyone wants to see you look pretty.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Cheryl. Sending you good vibes, Cheryl.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you And I think you do that. And I love that about you. Do you. And fuck the producers, honestly. Yeah. Do you.
Then there was the football game, the pool party. The only thing that was kind of spicy is that woman, and it seems like this is going to come up later on, like seems like to kiss Mel in front of the other women a lot. So there's a lack of like maybe feminist decorum or something, or that's the perception. So, you know, that might create some drama. It seems like that's going to be part of the drama of the season, and kind of more dramatic in traditional bachelorette sense than maybe the first Golden season was. So we'll see what that's all about.
Totally. Yeah, that. Thank you so much for adding that. Like, I got to the end of the episode and I was like, I'm sure I'm missing something. I don't remember what it is. I kind of got away from taking notes by the end of the episode. Yeah, the football party and game and pool party was an interesting thing. I liked how they were like, this is actually the most fun I've had in a long time. It actually was Mel's most relatable moment, was him being like, this is actually the most fun I've had in a long time. I was like, look, see, 6-year-olds, get it, you know, and like it actually felt authentic. Yeah, who knew? Who knew? Who knew we can all have fun at any age? Who knew it? So I felt like he even like felt it in himself in that moment. Like we were talking about the internalized ageism. Like he even like realized he could have that much fun. Like the way he was saying it didn't feel like it was just about how they can still be fun. He was also like, wow, I could have that much fun still. It was what it felt like. And I loved that moment. And then I agree, the Nicole stuff was quite spicy. So that brings us right into the second episode. So first, the cold open. We're seeing somebody, her name is Carol, but we later find out it's because honestly, I didn't remember her name when I first watched the opening, but she's struggling to have a conversation with Mel. She's just sort of saying like, well, you're handsome. And he's like, yeah, you're pretty. And she's like, okay, so back to you. Like, you're handsome. And it's just like, it's a little bit clinky and awkward. And we'll come back to that when we see the wrap of it. But the first real legitimate scene is cutting to Nicole, who is the one who had been kissing Mel all over the pool. And particularly, by the way, it is particularly spicy because they're in bathing suits. Like, I feel like the fact they were making out in the pool is particularly tough. And they were like probably 6 feet from other people. Like, they weren't super far away from them. They were like, also, you know, but they looked like they were in their own world. He eventually had to be like to her, like, stop. He eventually was like, we should stop doing this.
Yeah, which I was like, thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Thank you for reading the room. I appreciated that as well. And Absolutely. So then these women are sort of saying to Nicole very appropriately, like, hey, that felt disrespectful. Like, not really something I would have done. Like, can we check in about this? And Nicole says to us, I'm surprised that these women are so prim and proper, but like other things, I'll be a pioneer and they'll follow. And I was like, I think we're missing the point. Like, it's really not about the fact you kissed him. It's about the fact that you like exerted ownership over him by kissing him in front of everybody in a sort of like hypersexualized way, just given the bathing suits and the timing and how much kissing you were initiating. So I felt like making that moment to be like, look, I'm a pioneer with sex positivity was like missing the relational mark. Like, yay for feminism, but this isn't that moment, you know? Right.
That's not what they were giving you feedback on. It's kind of wishful thinking on her part that was the issue.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like they were purposely avoiding lateral violence. If you think about your study from last week, they're purposely avoiding that by just directly sharing with her, like, hey, this didn't feel good for us because we're all dating the same guy and we're trying to be respectful of each other. And she just sort of like, whoop, right over the head there.
I'm a pioneer and I'm sex positive. Amazing. No notes.
Yeah.
Time and place, you know.
Yes. Time and place and justification. That is not the justification for this moment.
Totally. When you're all dating the same person, that contextualizes things.
Right. Because also thinking about the fact that he also said to her, I think we should stop. That's a cue right there that there's shit happening. Like, he's reading something that's obviously unfair. And I do think most people would understand, like, okay, that was a racy thing I chose to do, or that was, like, potentially threatening to people. But it's almost like she's sort of like, that be damned. Like, I don't, like, that's sort of the position is like, I'm the pioneering part for in her mind is like, I don't care if they find that threatening. It's my boyfriend. He's my boyfriend, and I'm allowed to do that. And it's sort of like, of course you're allowed to do that, and you should feel sex positive, but like also there are ways in which you're literally hurting people's feelings, and like that is a different issue where you just might be a little bit differently respectful of other people. If you choose to do that, then own it in a different way. Then be like, you know what, I realized it and I just couldn't help myself, but like I totally understand that I would have felt so uncomfortable in your position, and I really will try to watch that going forward. None of that happened. So
Not any of it. No.
Mm-hmm. So then they had the group date, which was everybody except for Nicole. No, everybody except for Debbie. So the group date has a ton of people where they are, irrelevant. But first, when they were reading the card, this just was sort of an interesting relational moment quickly, that when everybody's in the living room together, they're reading who's on the group date. When they said Cindy's name and only Cindy's name, everybody actually like clapped for her. They're like, woohoo, go Cindy. But like also every single person's name was read except Debbie's. So it was just sort of interesting that like only one person was clapped for. I was just sort of like, that's sort of interesting. And so I will come back to that because there's a follow-up where I think she is a feeling-centered person, sort of like emotionally expressive in a way that pulls for caretaking and connection. Yeah. So when that is finished being read, we now know Debbie gets the one-on-one. She starts crying. It's like nice moment. Everybody's fine. Everybody's fine here. But then we get to this date that I'm so excited to talk about, which is that it is a roasting date where they roast. And I can take it or leave it with roasting dates usually. I've seen it flop on Bachelor shows. This one did not flop. It went really well. But beyond that, like it is still sort of take it or leave it for me. What was so great about it was that Jared Freed was hosting it. Jared Freed is a co-podcast host with Kay New York or Kay of the Bachelor podcast. And it is a funny podcast, but he in particular is also a stand-up comedian, and I find him so funny. I just find him so funny. And he's like Boston adjacent and Jewish, and he talks about his Jewish mother being like a really big complainer, and that, like he's like, just get her involved if you need to like skip a line or it's just like he's just so funny and attuned. And he's a big Bachelor fan, which he talks about in his stand-up comedy. He has a Netflix special, actually, which he didn't bring up on this, but check that out if you want to. Jared Freed. Hilarious. So I was so jazzed. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, a podcast host on the show. Like, here we go. Podcast, intersection here. Crossover. And he did great. He did so well. He was so funny. Did a great job hosting. He saved Amy. Like, Amy had, instead of roasting Mel, was like roasting herself. But at a certain point, she just started like complaining. And so Jared Freed jumps in and he's like, oh my gosh, this is like my mom. I went and started like imitating his mom complaining about everything, and it was honestly incredible. It helped actually Amy, but also it helped everyone else like not feel so awkward, and it was very well done. I immediately knew during Nicole's roasting that she was going to absolutely be the one to win. We knew at this point that the winner would get an extra one-on-one with Mel, and just by the fact that she was the one that would have created the most drama if she won, we immediately know she's going to win, because we do know from people who've been on the show that the producers choose the winners for these dates. They act like Mel did, but he did not. And Nicole instead, therefore I was absolutely correct because that was the most dramatic, did get the one-on-one. I said, yep, producer antics at play. Nicole is talking about his divorce right away, which is interesting. It's sort of like pretty immediate. And then how he had a younger ex that sat down with him with the papers. He says that. He's like, she just sat down right with the papers and was like, it's over. Like, whoa, that does sound pretty traumatic, as Dr. Ray brought up. And he's pretty emotionally cut off talking about it. So much so that she then says, like, was that sad? Like, he was like, yeah, of course. It was really heartbreaking. And then she relates to that, saying, I had to have a hard conversation with my ex. She gets the rose. He's like, there's good chemistry, but he said the chemistry between us is good. He's not like, it's hot, fiery. No, he's like, chemistry between us is good, and you can't manufacture or fight good chemistry. So we're like, okay. Not like super, passionate. She's not the twins, let's be clear. Blonde twins in their 30s or something.
But she does present younger looking, which I think is notable.
Exactly.
Right?
She does. And she is immediately not recognizable as being in her 60s. I would never assume that. And then on top of that, she does also have a younger, sort of like millennial, almost adjacent personality. Like the way that she is in terms of even how she relates. There's something about it that doesn't feel like she's in the group. One of these is not like the other. And so it's not shocking that he went for her in the pool, even just alone. The other thing was that someone brought up in their roasting, that he was going to need a helmet and a mouth guard because Nicole was going to have her tongue down his throat. And Mel actually said at the end of his date to Nicole, helmet, mouth guard, you're spot on. As if Nicole was the one who said that he would. So I just sort of was like, does he not recognize that it wasn't her who said it? Or like, is he saying something that they edited out? Like they edited out him being like, to this other person, you're spot on.
Yeah, that is a weird thing to say.
Those were like, that's funny, because if I were like, it just would be an interesting miss, like to not know the difference between someone else making fun of me for wanting to put my tongue down your throat versus me self-deprecating about putting that's like actually kind of a big relational miss in terms of, yeah. So I thought that was worth noting. With that in mind, I put Nicole as my, like, probably could have a little bit more of a therapy course and potentially doing some, like, additionally consolidation of trauma and being able to process some of the relational things with her divorce, but also like the part of her that's a little bit more like competitive or entitled, or, there's some element there that I just would want to dig into. And so I thought she just could be like the relational. It just gets me, right? It's like it's the relational part where it's like both learning about her. I would want to do RCT, both learning about her, oppression that she should be facing about internalized sexism and this idea of like needing to compete with women for the guy, or like using your sexuality to compete with blah, blah, blah. And then also like her own individual identity stuff. So like both like her cultural background and thinking about her status as a woman, but then also like what are some of her personal background factors that events, things that happen in her life, like what was high school like, etc., that inform how she responds to men and also to women. Look at some of those relational images.
Please and thank you.
Yes, exactly. And I think, divorce can be like a trauma. It sounds like she thinks she was the one in control of that happening in her relationship, which can be actually a good thing if you're the one in control, because you feel less like it's like, oh, happened upon me, which definitely is the thing with Mel. Like Mel's like, I didn't even know it was coming, which is its own version of like absolutely traumatizing. So, yeah. I'm trying to figure out okay, good. I still have the other there's still another person that I want to talk about who I would do therapy with. That's the therapy, more trauma stuff. One-on-one with Debbie. Mel starts it by saying, this is one of my favorite ways to show I care. And then we go to watch them learn how to cook. And I was like, to have her cook for you? Like, one of the ways you show you care? But it turns out he liked to cook. So I was like, all right, I'll allow it. It's much better.
Yes.
He also says, this is my type. She's my type. Energetic, beautiful. That's it. That's all he says. It's like, okay. Great.
That's all she wrote? Cool. Thought so.
Love it. Love it. Tracking. It's all tracking. It's staying together, hanging together here. We did have a sense you would say something like that. We do see them actually eating, which I was impressed by, because how many times have we seen Bachelor seasons where there's food but no one eats it, or like there's a table set up with no food actually even on it and they're talking. So it's even come up in shows that are like making fun of the Bachelor franchise. It's come up as like a theme that like you don't eat and actually eat on the show. So it's a trope. So I appreciated them showing them eating red meat. Debbie's never been married, which is of interest as well. And I think potentially a unique factor compared to many of the other women. Meanwhile, while Debbie's on the date, I would have been so jello to know that Susan and Kathy from last season showed up to the house for a pillow slumber party. What fun. I forget why I said pillow. I don't know if they brought pillows or maybe they just were in there. But at least a slumber party was explicitly said as well. They brought everybody PJs that had Mel's face and like hearts around it on the chest, and then made them all change into them. And then I really liked the idea that Kathy and Susan started doing like little one-on-ones with the different women. And Susan said to Carol, for example, don't be afraid to kiss him, like get in there. Carol, as you may recall, is the one from the beginning of the episode who was super hella awkward about like, oh, you're handsome. Oh, you're handsome. So right away when we see Susan say, don't be afraid to kiss him, we're like, oh, that's probably what was happening. She was trying to figure out how to like sneak in, I'm going to kiss you now stuff. It's so awkward. So this is where I put my other therapy thing. And it's actually like a two-parter right quickly. One is that we see Cindy telling us, I'm really struggling. She's crying. We've seen her cry a little at an earlier point already, by the way, this is the second episode. She says explicitly, I hate not being chosen. And then that's to us. Then we see Kathy giving her advice, and Kathy says to her, like, stay in your lane, but like, tell them how you feel.
Yeah.
And I thought that was helpful, but also I thought very informed by Kathy's experience of stay in your lane, because I was thinking about the Teresa stuff and how she said zip it, and that became the focus, and then Kathy went home. So don't involve yourself with other people who are getting chosen, because you will look like the dick and you will go home. And I think that's helpful, but I also think that might not be relevant to Cindy. And so I think there was a way in which I was like thinking stay in your lane might also make her feel more isolated, where actually it probably helps to talk a little bit about it with other people, but ideally people who feel the same way, not Teresa equivalent. Don't talk to Nicole about it. Talk to somebody else who's feeling. Talk to Carol. So I thought that was a difference there. I would want to do therapy with Cindy because I would want to do trauma-focused therapy about being cheated on, right? Like, it's not the same thing as having, lost a spouse, of course, and yet it has that sort of same effect of loss. And also, in addition to that, like severe self-doubt and self-image issues or self-image deficits and pain and suffering. She's clearly struggling with this because it's so adjacent to being cheated on. And I feel like that's going to get in the way, first of all, of her dynamic with Mel, but also I just feel for her deeply that like it's right front and center. Like, we need to get some, process in here for you and sort of be thinking about this in a way that is a little bit less like raw. So I felt that related as well to what you were saying earlier. These lovely women that just want to be like, you're okay. I'm going to give you a hug.
Good. Oh, you need a hug.
Exactly. We could do a group hug, because then as a result of this slumber party that would have been so fun, they also gave them vibrators. Oh, fuck yeah. Let's go. Let's go sex positivity. Talking of that, speaking of that, I enjoyed that fact a lot. I liked that they were a little bit sassy with that. That was fun.
Totally.
Yeah, right? I was like, okay, sociopolitical. I put that as a sociopolitical part 2.
That's perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
Combating ageism. We like sex, we like pleasure, even as we age.
Yes. And like, we're going to be here for a while, not able to have sex, and we might need to have a self, gratification moment as well. Not just the men that are here, whatever. And then on top of that, also, I love the idea, like you're saying, it's like just in general, older adults being seen as sexual at all is a really helpful combatant for the ageism we've been talking about as being all over the screen with some of these late episodes of Late.
Totally. Yes. Indubitably.
Indubitably sexual and therefore less ageist.
Indeed.
Cocktail party. I just kept going with it. Cocktail party. Carol has that awkward ass one-on-one moment, but yes, we were right. It's about the kissing being the weird part, and she does end up giving him like a little peck. Still pretty awkward, but does recover in a way they definitely don't suggest, obviously, with the cold open, that they think they make that look real dire, but it did recover. Cindy has a meaningful one-on-one time with him, and she ends up getting the first rose during the rose ceremony. So that was good. She took some advice, told him how she felt, and that ended up playing out well. So good advice. Kathy, we don't know if she did or did not stay in her lane. I will say I feel like she actually has a lot of support from the women, because that was the thing about how she got applauded. That was the only one on the date. So I think she is bleeding a little bit. Like, she is reaching out, not even bleeding, because I think it's actually a good thing. She's expressing herself a little bit to some of the women so that they can then support her as they feel able to. And last but not least, the rose ceremony. So 4 went home. I was not at all surprised about who went home this time. I think both Monicas went. Terry, who was the puppeteer, and Amy all went home, because Amy's not her twin daughters. And then also Carol got the last rose, the one who had the awkward kissing moment. So that is supposedly like the rose order. It's also producer antics. So we don't actually know if he would have given Carol the last rose. But that was the only other thing worth noting about the rose ceremony.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's sad about Amy. She was really funny and a spitfire. But it doesn't seem like Mel's type. If her daughters are interested, I guess one of them, his type is energetic and pretty. So, hey.
Yeah. Yep. If you end up feeling like, you want to send even both twins, I'm sure he'd be jazzed about that. Sister wives.
God. Yep. Weird fucking guy.
It's just so hard once you've seen that. Like, once you've seen his face being lit up like that, it's so hard to, like you said, to unring that bell or to unsee it. It just makes any other moment feel inauthentic. I haven't seen that happen again.
No, which makes it a hard watch. I feel bad because I feel like this show is really like pro-aging in a really nice generative way. And it's sad that this is the representation that's happening this season, because his heart's not in it. It's just not.
No, it's truly not, and noticeably so. And like, right, maybe some of that's the trauma stuff about the divorce that felt unexpected. Like there's trauma associated with aging out of football, trauma associated with public awareness of him when he's in the NFL, right? Like the lawyer, blah, blah, blah. It makes sense. There could be a number of reasons why that's happening, but it definitely feels like part of it is the ageism thing, but his internalized ageism and therefore ageism towards the women. So it's a potpourri of things, and at least one of them being that makes it a little bit harder to empathize.
Yep. And oh, by the way, nothing wrong with wanting to date women 45 or whatever, that being your group. If you find women who also like you in that demographic age range, cool. Just, this is not the show for you. This is not what this show is about. And I think there were a lot of steps on the way where mistakes were made.
Yeah. Yeah. Well put. Like, do your thing as long as we're in legal bounds in terms of age difference. Do your thing. So I can relate with an age difference with my husband. And also, if you were already aware of your demographic, well, then we would not like to know about that. But certainly now that we do know about that, it's a whole show, your whole season feeling inauthentic. And then you're ruining the dream for us that this is anything other than producer antics and you trying to get famous again. So that's where we'll live for the rest of the season. But hopefully we can enjoy at least the other pieces of it, which I already am. Like, I do enjoy the women on these seasons so much. I love seeing the women relationships at this age and just their support of each other and empowerment and sass as well. All of it. Love it.
All of it together. Yes.
But we agreed, I think, that we're probably not going to come back to the Golden Bachelor until potentially doing an awards episode where we could choose to bring up the Golden Bachelor for one or the other awards that we do. But ultimately, we gave you all a sense of our views on Mel, gave you a sense of what we're thinking about Golden Bachelor this season, and good luck to you, Mel. We might come back to you later. We might not.
Yep. Indeed. We are in your age range, but we're not interested.
Are we 45?
Oh, I think that was a lie. I think that he was softballing it. I think he would date 20 to 45. I think that's his real. I think he wants I like it. I think he wants as young as he can get. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. Don't think I am.
No, I think once the twins thing happened, I was like, okay, so we're looking younger as well. But at least this explicit age range we're not in. But absolutely, I think 30s and 40s and maybe high 20s, are fair game for him as long as he was able to swing it. And I feel like it might even be tied up with him feeling powerful, such that like he actually like actively needs to be doing that and having that for affirmation from young hot things. Mm-hmm. So what a joy. I will say also, in the meantime, friends, if you're interested in other things that we have to offer, which are many, there's a Dr. Kay Ray out there. I am ranting with extreme prejudice. No, just kidding. Actually, it is. It's prejudice against ageism, which is fair, I will say. Come to our Patreon at patreon.com/realitytest. You can also go to the search bar at patreon.com and put in the @ symbol and then reality test. It's $5 a month, friends. $5 a month. And you know what else? You probably get it for free for the first year because we're also doing promos related to those who join on the sooner end. And also, you will get free access, early access to the episodes for the audios because we're going to put them out on. By the way, you can freely join our Patreon as a free member to get access to those early audios. You don't actually have to pay the $5 a month for that. You just be a free member. You'll get free audio the night before we usually post it. And then also if you get the $5 a month thing or the promo from us, you can get access to our full video episodes. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at the half episodes, the excerpts of the video episodes on YouTube. Full audio is wherever you get your pods, though. We're also on Instagram at Reality Test Podcast. Then we're on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok at Reality Test Pod. We're also on Gmail at realitycheckpodding, PODDING @gmail.com.
And don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, tell all your friends. And we so appreciate your support so we can keep doing this thing we love.
Yay! And hi, friends that came here because of a friend recommending it. Mm-hmm. Glad you're here. And to all of you, so glad you're here. And what a joy always, even if we are, a little bit unidirectional here, we feel like we know you well just because you're listening to us. So we're still feeling it. And we will see you all next session. Bye, friends.
Bye.
Reality.